So this cartoon seems especially relevant now, given how the election turned out. This one took a lot longer than usual to draw because the composition was kind of pretty complicated. I was trying to work out how Putin could be up there, and you know, working four different puppets, and then I had to get the face down so it was recognizable, but then not show too much of it because then it would dominate the image. So I really had to work out the composition here, and it took quite a while. It's not really reflected in this animation, but this one took probably 5 or 6 hours, I think, to work out. I really like how it turned out, and unfortunately, I'm also very worried about this. As for the election, I've heard just so much criticism of the Democrats and Kamala Harris and just so much navel gazing. I think this election just came down to one thing: inflation. I think people were mad about it and they lash out at whoever occupies the White House when they're angry. In fact, I think, given how angry I think the voters were, I think Kamala actually did pretty well in the popular vote. She far exceeded Biden's approval ratings, and the approval ratings are really important in a reelection for an incumbent. And Biden's approval ratings were really low. I think around 40%. I think she got 46, 47% of the popular vote. At any rate, still all very bad news as far as I'm concerned. I think I am frustrated with Biden that he didn't drop out, you know, much earlier and just not run for reelection. That way, we could have had a full primary, and there could have been some distance between the candidate and the Biden administration. Incidentally, I think inflation has very little to do with the Biden administration. We came out of the pandemic with supply chain shortages and the war in Ukraine affecting food prices, and it was global. All developing nations had runaway inflation. We actually did much better than most. Um, and I think you can argue whether or not the Inflation Reduction Act it made it a little bit worse because government spending or deficit spending does make inflation a little bit worse. But I think most of this was supply chain problems. And also, if you're going to complain about spending, you got to complain about Trump's spending, Trump's deficit spending, and the Payroll Protection Act, which was massive. And yet they act like that was good spending, good deficit spending, but Biden's was horrible. And so, all in all, I'm pretty mortified by the fact that America chose the man who inspired January 6th to occupy the White House again. It's quite appalling. And I'm going to leave you with a quote by H.L. Mencken about democracy. He said, "Democracy is the theory that the common people know what they want and deserve to get it good and hard."